So we'd like to welcome everyone to our first In Conversation with LearnTech webinar. Before we begin today's session, I just wanted to run through a few things. Everyone has been muted during the session and will remain so throughout the presentation. Once we have delivered the presentation content, there will be a question and answer session at the end. If you have questions at any point during the session, please use the chat box or the Q&A function and we'll pick them up at the end. Thank you again for registering for this event and we hope you find it useful. Welcome everyone to today's In Conversation with webinar on Artificial Intelligence with LearnTech. We are delighted to welcome our guest speaker, Mike Lloyd, founder of LearnTech, and our host today will be Phil Myers, Head of International Product Development at Pearson. Over to you, Phil.
Hi, welcome everybody, and we're delighted to have you here to attend this webinar with LearnTech. We're going to be looking at AI. It's really becoming ubiquitous and really the centre of many industries. So we're going to be taking an overview of AI, and Mike's going to be leading that for us. Here at Pearson BTEC, we've developed some BTEC courses. So these BTEC courses sit alongside the AI courses with LearnTech, and we're going to describe to you the products and services we have available for you, which will support you in teaching and learning AI. So we've been in partnership with Mike at LearnTech for a couple of years now, developing these products for you. Mike's at the forefront of AI with a wealth of experience and global contacts in AI, so he's at the forefront of the AI industry. But Mike will describe to you how AI is so important across a range of sectors. So over to you, Mike.
Right, thank you, Phil. So I'm going to do three things in the next 20 minutes or so. The first thing I want to do is to dispel some myths around AI. There's a lot of myths around it's the level of disruption and how complex it is. I want to dispel those myths. The second thing I want to do is to explain why people should learn AI and why should students in particular be choosing AI as a subject to learn. And the third thing I want to do is to say, yes, you and your colleagues can actually teach AI. It's actually not that hard if you really think about it. So those are the things I want to cover off as we go through. So I think, a couple of really important points to make to get us going is that anyone can learn AI, and I mean anyone can learn at least something about AI. The second point really is that work is increasingly driven by AI, so the whole world of work in this case. And that's led to high growth in rewarding AI jobs. And one of the things I'll talk about is the breadth of the kind of jobs that you can get if you've got experience with AI and you understand it. So the net of all of that is that if you represent an institution, then you're an institution that embraces AI should be able to recruit more students and help those students get rewarding jobs at the end of their studies. So that's kind of reinforced by the president of MIT when he said that institutions must equip students in every field. And that's the important bit here, is every field. AI is pervasive right across society, across all industries, and across all areas of study. And the president of MIT, stated recently that institutions must equip the students to be AI bilingual. In other words, they study their own subject area, but also in parallel with that, they have to learn really where AI impacts on that. So AI is for everybody. So let's start then by unpacking why people should learn about AI at all. Well, as I mentioned at the start, work is increasingly driven by AI. And what do we mean by that? Well, AI is going to lead to an estimated 16 trillion increase in global GDP. And boy, do we actually need that right now. So that's an absolutely colossal number. And to put that into some kind of perspective, that's greater than both China and India's current combined GDP. So if you think about, we're adding another China and India to the world's economy by 2030 through artificial intelligence. Now, one of the myths which I think we should dispel straight away is that AI is going to take jobs away. It's not. It's certainly going to change the jobscape across the world. The whole world of work is going to be changed by AI, but the net effect isn't that it's going to make lots and lots of people redundant. Its fact is we're going to end up with far more employment, in the same way as the steam age and the age of electricity didn't make people redundant. It created a whole set of different kinds of jobs. So we can expect enormous disruption to the jobs market, and those who have AI skills will be the winners in that. Now, AI skills are already in very big demand, and this analysis of UK employment sets it out quite clearly, saying that the fastest growing skills clusters are in these areas: IT, healthcare, at the forefront. And so, picking our way through this, you think, well, information technology, scripting languages, of course, people are going to have to write AI programs and algorithms. So clearly there's an impact on that area. If you're a programmer, you're going to be working increasingly in the AI domain, and there will be increasing demand for your skills. Healthcare is an interesting one. Obstetrics and gynecology. You think, well, why on earth would that skills in that area grow due to AI? Well, that's the same actually across all of healthcare, where, for example, you can use AI to predict the outcome of a particular course of treatment, or you can use scans, for instance, to predict a whole range of different things. And we'll look at that in a bit more detail in a video later. So AI is having a massive impact in the healthcare sector, other sectors as well, but healthcare in particular is having a huge impact, a positive impact from AI. And then, of course, you've got the other kind of more traditional kind of IT areas on version control and cloud solutions and so on. So these are the fastest growing skills clusters, and they're being driven by AI. Now, I think it's important. A really important point I mentioned right at the start is everybody needs to learn at least something about AI. And AI skills are relevant across a whole range of roles in a modern organization. So clearly, leaders are going to need to be tech savvy in the understanding of AI. So if I'm running a business or a public sector organization, I need to understand what AI can do for my organization, how it can help improve it, how I can get better outcomes, and so on. So that's really around being savvy to what AI can actually do in my organization. Then, of course, you've got data scientists and engineers. Those are typically what we think about when we think about work in the AI area. We think about people who have done like master's level or PhD data science and computing and computer science and engineering. And yes, of course, those people are important, and they're part of the mix, but they're only one part of the mix in total. And then you've got managers, people who are managing parts of an organization and needing to understand how AI can impact what they're doing, how it can benefit what they're doing, how they can leverage AI. So here is, if you like, the bulk of what we're going to be talking about today. People who will end up in a position where they will have to make decisions about how things are done, and have to understand really what the role of AI would be in that. So here you've got, a basic understanding of machine learning, which is the engine room of AI, and the ability to define opportunities for AI in an organization. Those are key skills. And then users in an organization. So increasingly people are using tools that are assisted by AI. So robotic process automation, assisted by AI, for instance, is speeding up the way that transactional activities can take place in standard kind of office work. But across organizations, many people are going to be using applications in the same way as perhaps they use spreadsheet or Word today. They will be increasingly using software that is AI assisted in some way. So they need to have an appreciation and an understanding of what these things are and why AI is able to do what it's able to do to support them in their work. And then finally, all of us, every single one of us is responsible to some extent, at least, for the explosion of AI, which is predicated on data. And most of the data that's being pumped into AI systems is coming from mobile phones. So we all have our digital exhaust. We all, are pushing data into the systems. We need to understand what this is and what the meaning of that is. And we need to have an informed skepticism about how these systems work so that we're not exploited by them. And then finally, kind of underpinning all of those roles is an understanding of what AI is in terms of its ethics, in terms of, is it ethical to apply AI in a particular way? And XAI, which is explainability. So how do you explain to somebody the outcome of a decision which has been assisted with AI? And that could be in anything from, from a parking fine to a loan decision, but the ability to say, well, look, this is roughly how the system works. These are the decision-making points that were made automatically by an algorithm, and at least to be able to have some explanation of why particular decisions were made. So that's the kind of broader skills landscape across modern organizations. Now, I think another key point is that AI is not restricted to the laboratories, and it's not an abstract thing. This is something which is applied across a vast range of industries. So healthcare, as I mentioned earlier on, is booming with AI. It's been used for to help doctors. It's been used to help nurses. The entire workforce in healthcare is beginning to feel the benefits of the application of AI. But of course, there are other sectors as well. Transportation, education, IT services. All of these different areas have application of AI. And so this graph basically shows the money that's been put in, the private investment that's been put into these different areas, specifically around the introduction of AI. So it gives you a good sense of the growth of jobs and the growth of applications of AI in these different areas. So if you were interested as a student in AI, that doesn't restrict you to any particular industry. So, let's think about students and what objections they might have. They might turn around and say, look, I'm not an academic, so how could AI be for me? But I would argue that if students enjoy problem solving, it could be for them. And the courses that we're going to talk about today assume no previous knowledge or skills in AI at all. So the kind of things that people would do, the work that they would do if they were involved in AI, is breaking down complex problems, pattern recognition, abstraction, and developing algorithms. So these basically form computational thinking. So if a student can enjoy any of those components in that, then they can enjoy learning about AI. So it can be for you. You don't have to be kind of seriously academic or have a strong disposition towards mathematics, for instance. It helps if you understand some basics around maths, but you can certainly enter the world of AI if you have those kinds of interests and dispositions. Now, the other key point that I want to raise is, yes, you can teach AI. We did some tours a while ago to help teachers understand that yes, they can teach computer science, and once you have the basics and once you understand, you know, the key components, this stuff is not massively difficult. So yes, you can teach it. The perception is that AI is for boffins, is for, you know, geeks and for, you know, people with PhDs only, you know, but that's the perception. The reality is completely different. If you can understand this, which is, it's a linear regression, you kind of learn this in lower secondary school. You can see that that red dot, if you recognize that red dot there is just a prediction of a data point given a whole set of other data points. If you recognize that and say, oh, okay, I understand where that line is pointing to and what that red dot is doing there, you understand that, then you've understood half of the main principles that underpin machine learning, which drives AI. And that's regression. The other half is around classification, and we do classification every day, right? You know, we deal with classification almost instinctively. So these two things, classification and regression, are the two engine rooms of the engine room, if you like, of AI, which is machine learning. So they're the drivers that lead to AI-based predictions. You understand that, then you're away, basically. And the rest of it is just building on top of that. So I'm going to just very briefly show a video which explains how AI will transform the future of healthcare, but bear in mind that this same scenario has been played out in multiple industries, including, for example, finance.
Data is critical for improving our understanding of disease and illness. The more we understand, the better the chances of preventing, diagnosing, and curing. But currently, only about 5% of medical data is used effectively.
We had a problem of generating so much data, terabytes of data for each person, but we didn't have a way to analyze it. We didn't have a way to extract the juice, the distillate of this. Now we do, and that's what artificial intelligence is really about.
Trained on a huge resource of medical data, the power of AI learning can read some images more accurately than humans.
Whether it's a pattern like a scan or a slide, or prediction, AI can really rev up the accuracy, and that is important for a better diagnosis, better treatments, better outcomes, lower cost.
Powerful machines can interpret scans 150 times faster than radiologists and can work 24 hours a day. AI can even suggest a diagnosis.
Many conditions could be AI diagnosed. And so the time that a doctor comes into play is very specific to important diagnoses.
Okay, so that kind of summarizes at least one aspect of the application of AI in healthcare. Whoops, let me just move to the next one. So I'm now going to hand over to Phil, and I look forward to taking your questions later. So Phil, over to you. I'm going to.
Yes, thank you. So I think, you know, Mike's given a really good sort of background to AI, and what we really wanted to focus on and draw out was that AI is approachable. We recognise in the teaching profession that there is increasing evolution in sectors. Things are changing quite rapidly. Post-pandemic, in the midst of the digital revolution, there's a lot of change in sectors. So we wanted to give some reassurance that you know, AI is approachable. But I think the second thing we wanted to show is that the Pearson BTEC and LearnTech approach has been developed to fully support you as a teacher. So you've got all those resources which you need to engage with the content and support learners. So what I'll do is I'll just describe the approach to the courses, the BTEC courses we've developed with LearnTech. And I'll also show you Learning Hub and some of the courseware which sits on Learning Hub. So, I mean, you know, as we've been alluding to, you know, the work is increasingly driven by AI. And, you know, some of these top skills, which sort of slot into those employability skills, those work focus skills that so many employers are asking for, are really sort of supported and developed through AI. And the BTEC model, we feel, really lends itself to supporting teaching and learning in this area. And the reason for that, we feel, is that learners, when they do a BTEC, they understand, they study the underpinning knowledge, so they study the subject and the sector, but they do practical stuff. So they'll get involved in some of the data, they'll get involved in some of the coding, they'll get, you know, they'll get their hands into some of the issues of AI. And they're really starting to, you know, apply that knowledge and understand how that knowledge informs their practical skills as they're doing that work. And in the BTEC method, BTECs are assessed through those practical skills. So learners will complete an assignment which is practically based. They'll be assessed on that. So they're really being assessed on what is absolutely core. And because of that model, these skills, these top 15 skills, many of them are being drawn out into that assignments, things like problem solving, critical thinking, etc. So we really do feel that AI is being properly supported through the BTEC model. So we've developed 5 short courses, and they are short courses, and we've designed them to be short on purpose. They're 20 guided learning hours each, and the reason for you know, being quite focused is because we feel that these can sit alongside your curriculum and your sectors and subjects in an established curriculum. And as Mike has said, these courses will have relevance, I think, across a whole range of sectors. We've talked about health, business, finance, and many others, actually, where AI is becoming so important in managing data and predictions. So we devised these courses to be short. They're accessible. They can be studied at any point in the course of the year. We don't have fixed times where these have to be studied. And we feel that they can be slotted in into your established curriculum. So starting off with digital technologies, Demystified. So this is very much a broad oversight into digital technology. So looking at AI, but also putting in blockchain, robotics, and the Internet of Things. So, you know, giving those learners an understanding of digital technologies and some of their applications within sectors and industries. So a sort of broad introduction for learners. The second course is, you know, focus explicitly on artificial intelligence. So introduction to artificial intelligence, understanding the capabilities, how artificial intelligence is being used in forward-thinking organisations, applications, benefits and limitations, key machine learning processes, data, and also issues of ethics within AI. So this is you know, fully focused on AI and the importance of AI within sectors and within industry. So artificial intelligence demystified. So this is a slightly more technical look at artificial intelligence. So key features of AI, but also underlying models and methods and what makes AI work. Yeah, this is a more data and technical driven short course. Again, it's 20 hours. I mean, it's an introductory course. And as I say, it's fully explained and fully supported. You as you get to grips and see the BTEC support, I think you'll feel that confidence that the course is being fully supported. But yeah, I mean, this is a course in which learners will do a bit of code, look at some of the coding and experiment with some of the underpinning data. So really, give them a little bit of hands-on experience in terms of AI and how AI is being used. The fourth course is one which we've developed to be more specific into an industry. So this is an example within financial services. So it's going to be really important, I think, and within the business sector, thinking about how AI is being used within financial services, is how financial services is really being changed because of AI. So AI across the customer life cycle, across the different customer segments, but prediction values, optimal prices, rates and market movements. So AI within the mechanics, if you like, of the financial services industry and how it's being used. The role in managing risk, security and underwriting, and then in portfolio development and fund management. So I think for those learners who potentially studying business or looking at financial services within business or developing their careers within financial services, this course is going to be really important and of interest for them to start to think about how AI is engineering that industry. And then artificial intelligence for leaders. So this is for those who are looking to for a role in management, or even potentially for adult learners who are in management. What do you need to know as a leader? What do you need to know as a manager about AI to inform your business, to inform your role with colleagues, your management of a business? And this is sort of focused in terms of how organisations are using AI to develop their businesses. So there'll be examples from some of these key sector leaders such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc. How are those organisations using AI to drive their businesses? And this is within the compass of that 20 hours, a course which is to help leaders start to think about how AI can support and develop their business. So one thing I haven't mentioned is target age ranges. So all of these courses are 20 hours, as I said. 4 of the courses are set at what we call level 3. So those are initially designed for learners aged 16 to 18, but also applicable for adult learners too. Mike has sort of global experience actually in offering the LearnTech courses internationally to adult learners. But we've designed the BTECs at level 3. We see them sitting within that vocational and academic curriculum at 16 to 18. So a learner typically could be doing a BTEC national and international level 3 qualification in any number of sectors. But they could be looking at 1 or 2 of these introductory AI courses alongside their BTEC to support their learning and to develop that understanding of AI. And similarly, learners who are taking A-levels and academic curriculum, you think about financial services, if they're doing economics of business, perhaps maths at A-level, You know, they could be looking at the financial services short course. That's just given them a flavour of AI within financial services. You know, perhaps they're looking to move into the financial services industry. It's going to support them in that progression. The level 4 course is also available for learners age potentially 18 to 18 if they're looking at management leadership roles. But of course, it could be for learners who are 18 plus, perhaps doing higher vocational qualifications, and they want to, you know, supplement their portfolio in terms of thinking about AI and how AI can support their management skills. And of course, for private job training providers, these courses are available and potentially could be offered to employees as part of an offer for adult learning. I just wanted to talk about BTEC assessment. So some of you might not be aware of how BTEC works. So BTEC is we call it a unitized form of curriculum. So every BTEC is comprised of units. With the AI courses, each of them is a single unit because of the length of the course and the accessibility of the course. You know, they are shorter courses. But within each unit will have learning aims. So they will describe what a learner should know, should understand, and should be able to do at the end of that course of study. Each of those units will have assessment criteria, and those are practically based criteria. And the idea of the assessment criteria is that they draw the knowledge, skills, and understanding of the unit together so that an assignment can be set. And what we do with the AI units is we set an assignment. We have a assignment which we've developed in-house, which you can use and assess your students with. And that assignment is drawing through the course of study, it's picking up on all of the learning aims, it's assessing against those assessment criteria, and it'll be a holistic assessment. It will be scenario-based. We will set a scenario, set a context, and learners will draw across their learning in order to complete that assignment. We have a quality assurance system where we work with colleges to support their assessment process, which is very rigorous, and then we issue a certificate for each learner who successfully completes their assignment. So BTEC is an internationally recognised brand, recognised at government level by many jurisdictions, recognised by many universities, etc. So these short courses will really add to a learner profile in terms of their understanding of AI and understanding how it contributes to their sector. So what I'm going to do now is just escape from the slide presentation. And if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to go into the Learning Hub. So all of our courses are hosted on Pearson Learning Hub, and should you decide to start offering these courses, effectively what you will do is register for the BTEC, but you will then have access to Learning Hub. And Mike and the LearnTech team have developed courses which cover all of the content of the BTEC. So effectively, you can use these within the teaching environment to, you know, learners can literally take these courses. We encourage, of course, as part of the teaching and learning, that you conduct discussions with learners, that learners are able to bring their issues back to class and have some discussion, perhaps working groups in terms of some of their experience of coding and some of the practical elements of the course. But really, these courses are very much 100% content available on Learning Hub. So that's why we feel that you can be confident that you're being fully supported. And of course, you can use them, you can lead those discussions, and you can help clarify understanding from learners. And obviously you have access to the courses as well. So I'm going to drop into one of the courses. As you will see, when you get a Learning Hub account, you get potentially you have access to a whole range of courseware from Pearson. So I'm just flicking through the courses on this demo account. You can see some of the examples here. I'm going to go to Introduction to AI in Business. So as a teacher, when you log into this course, you get an overview of how your students are accessing this course. So the number of students who might have visited the course in a period of time. There are various tasks associated with each course, and you get a sense of students' engagement in the course. Students can also, there are chat functions associated with the courses, so students may have some discussion within the course, and you can see that as well, and you can intervene, you can put in some points of clarification, etc. So you get a very much a cohort view of what's happening within your course. And yeah, you can sort of see some of the detail here in terms of, you can imagine that your student names are being listed. If they've been assessed, you would have seen when they've last visited, etc., and various discussions they may have been involved with. So hopefully you get a sense of the engagement, but also of your role and your ability to oversee what your cohort is doing. So I'll just briefly drop into the modules, and as you can imagine, there's a sequential element to these courses, so the students work through the modules in the course, and as they approach the end of the course, that's when the assignment will be introduced, and students can complete their assignment. They're not assigned on screen, so the assignment process is separate from the courseware and operates as BTECs operate in terms of being classroom-based assessment. So I'm just going to drop in on some of the course so you can have a look. So this is part of the course where is AI, so there are elements, diagrams, there's description. The module starts with some videos describing AI. So there's quite a visual element to this, and learners can engage with the videos, and as I say, there are the content is divided up into these module sections for students to work through. You've got visuals from newspapers, etc. So there's lots of information here, lots of opportunity for learners to engage, and for you as a sort of moderator, a teacher overseer, you also have access to the information, and there are opportunities for you to sort of engage and help clarify and support the learning process. But all of the courseware is here for you, and all of these courses are fully supported for you, so you can feel that confidence, I think, in terms of the coverage, that all of the courses are being fully covered. Yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize again the point about progression and also curriculum fit. So the qualifications resources are designed to complement curriculum, and that's why we've looked at the 20 hours duration, and we've set them at that level. So we call it level 3, but for the 16 to 18 age range, and a slightly higher level for the leaders course. Again, as I say, adult learners can engage with these courses as well, so they are available for adult learners as well. But we set them at that 20 hours because we feel that they will sit alongside curriculum courses. So if you're offering BTEC Nationals, Internationals at level 3, at some of the larger courses, and this is a course which you potentially could slot into the curriculum. But similarly with academic curriculum, these might also sort of slot in as well. And I think learners who are looking to progress into higher education potentially, or into I've said advanced apprenticeships here, but if they're looking at high technical qualifications, high national certificates, diplomas, etc., these courses are going to add to their portfolio. They're going to say that they've developed some interest and some of the skills in AI, which are going to support them in terms of that progression into higher level courses. So really, just as an overview and just to sum up, really, so these are qualifications, BTEC qualifications, where the courses sit alongside the curriculum exactly. So the learner, when you purchase a course with the BTEC, you will get that 100% support for that learning journey. They are suited to blended learning, so they're suited for skills development for learners and opportunities for you to bring learners together to have discussions about what they've learned. We've developed assignment briefs which can be used for assessing the BTECs at the end of the course, and that issue of progression and curriculum fit, as I've just described. So we've had that consideration as well. So we're hopefully producing for you a package where you can feel some confidence of the support which you're going to receive. And really, yes, I mean, hopefully we've tackled some of these questions. There may have been some questions in the chat. We did receive some questions in advance. Hopefully we've helped you in terms of that first question. So if you're an experienced teacher but you don't feel yourself to be an AI specialist, can you teach this course? And the answer is absolutely yes. You will have the full package of support. The students will be able to engage with the courseware, and you can feel that confidence that you're going to be fully supported in teaching. I've shown you a very brief snippet, I think, in terms of the digital content. You'll see, you've got that the video visual aspect, you've got the content aspect, which is there. Of course, should you wish to take this further, we can arrange for a more intensive demo for you, so you can see more of the material. I think if you're a registered centre for BTEC, how easy will it be to apply to offer this course? Yeah, I mean, it's literally just adding a qualification onto your registration profile. If you're entirely new to Pearson BTEC, then we have a centre approvals process, which we're in the process of simplifying. So we'll guide you through that process, so that we can set you up quickly to offer these courses. When the sub question about the SV visit, so an SV is our person who works for Pearson, and they support you in your quality assurance. So they support you in the assessment process, and they help you in terms of getting that right, and the quality assurance systems which you'll have in your college, school, college, or private training provider. And we'll look at that in a holistic way. So if you're offering more than one Pearson course, then we'll look at your quality assurance and make sure that that's working for you. And then our AI courses, which learners could potentially progress to after completion of this course. So I think there is potential. There are higher level AI courses, and I think these short courses serve as a supportive sort of introduction into those courses. I don't know, Mike, if there's anything you wanted to say about those higher level courses. student progression into those?
No, not really, Phil. It's just that I think we've a lot of what we do is covered on lower level degree courses. So we can, but we simplify everything. I think that's the bottom line. So what you might end up learning in university or at the university level has been simplified greatly, and you would have had experience in diving into the code and working with that before you get onto a more abstract kind of course.
Yeah, I think that's the key with these is that we're making AI accessible. So I mean, AI is going to be in virtually every sector. And the key to this is making it accessible so that learners can see how important it's going to be and really just engage with it on a sector basis. But it's going to support those who want to maybe thinking about a more specific career within data, and those courses which I might take at university or higher vocational level. Claire, did we have any questions coming on chat?
Yes, we have. So we've had a question about, could these courses be offered to students at A level or IB level as an additional club?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way these courses are designed is so that they can slot into those curricula. So definitely with A level and certainly with IB, I think it's we've got, actually interestingly, we've got a partnership agreement with the IBO, because BTEC is accepted as the technical vocational qualification within the IB. So I think these courses sort of support an element of the technical element of the IB course, and I can see that these would sit in within that framework. I think we need to have a conversation about whether these would contribute into the IB grading in the way that BTECs do. But even if they don't, as a 20-hour accessible course, they can sit alongside the IB. Students can claim them on their the claimant certificate and have that recognised on the CV, etc. And yeah, definitely with A levels. I mean, as I said, with financial services, you can see a student who might be studying, looking for a career in financial services, doing those A levels in maths, economics and business or similar, and perhaps looking for to get a little bit of insight into AI and the financial services AI, and the introduction to AI in business would be ideal for them to just to develop that. And that's potentially going to look good if they're looking into degree courses as just a little something extra to show that they've shown interest and developed some of those initial skills.
What is the cost of each BTEC, and would it be that they'd pay per student?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's the way our costing works is that we have a differentiated model depending on where you are internationally. Obviously, we recognise different capacities to pay in different jurisdictions. So I think if you make an inquiry with us, we will we can sort of work with you in terms of costing. We at the moment we have a subscription model for the number of students which you intend to put through the courses. So I think, if you get in contact with us, we can tell you exactly for your region what sort of costing options there are for you.
What's the main differences between digital technologies, computing and cloud computing qualifications?
I'm going to hand that over to Mike, I think.
They're all quite different things. I mean, we cover in digital in the digital technology course that we mentioned earlier, we will cover cloud computing, So that's part of it. But they are you could think of digital technology as the big umbrella under which computing sits, and then cloud technology is an aspect of computing. So it kind of goes deeper and deeper, if you like. Does that make sense? From a course point of view, I'd have to hand that over to Phil. But I think that all of these are covered in the BTEC Level 3 IT course, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have units in IT which cover cloud computing and digital technologies, variety of digital technologies. We're actually interested in the process of updating our our Level 3 International in IT to map to the Microsoft Computer Science curriculum. So we're in that process. We're introducing the new, which cover some of the new technologies, and that course is the full curriculum provision for the 16 to 18-year-olds. There are options there which are full sort of 3 A-level equivalent size, but there are also smaller sizes as well. And BTEC being a unitized approach means that you can pick and choose the units that you think are going to be most appropriate for your learners. So, we're working on that update at the moment. And, yeah, basically those components of digital industry are covered in separate units.
And then just one about, is there any software or programming language suitable for learning this course?
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, Mike, over to you.
Yeah, so the initial concepts of classification and regression, as I showed earlier on, those can be done using Excel. They're it's probably the easiest way to explain those concepts. But the vast majority of what we cover on the course is handled through Python. Though if a teacher had good R skills, a lot of that can be interpreted as into R relatively easy. We share the code. So, if you've got good R skills, you prefer to use R, then for some of those you can use that. But I would say it's 90% Python.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and are there level 6 or 7 in digital technologies?
It's a great question. We don't at the moment. We have developed a cloud computing qualification at higher national level, which is quite an exciting project for us, working with Amazon Web Services. So we're covering level 4 and 5, and we also obviously have a wider digital technologies portfolio at a higher national level as well. Many of our higher nationals and those higher nationals articulate with university degrees, so a learner can do their higher national and then go into year 6 of level 6, so the final degree year with the university with that higher national. Higher than that in terms of master's level, our courses at the moment tend to be in terms of leadership and management. So there are aspects of this which potentially be touched on, but we don't have something specific in terms of AI at level 6. But it's a good question, and it's certainly something that we'd be looking at if we can see some demand for it.
That's all the questions that are in the chat box. So unless anybody wants to add anything else, I think we're at the end of the webinar.
Right.
So just
sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to finish by saying that we will circulate the recording and slides used in this presentation, and we'll do an FAQ document as well. So we'll share that around with anybody that's registered and attended the session today.
Brilliant. And of course, if you've got any questions which occur to you afterwards or in the course of thinking about this, then you'll be able to get in contact with us, and we can help you with those questions. But thank you, all of you, for attending. Thanks to Mike for really engaging intro into AI, and I hope you get a good sense of what we're doing here. and the accessibility of what we're doing across LearnTech and BTEC. So thank you all for attending, and hope you have a wonderful day.